raise your hand if you oppose Trump's pardon of this Minnesota individual.
Ma'am, this grandstanding nonsense
this is not grandstanding.
Exactly
this is
what
accountability.
Minnesotans hate about D.C.
This is accountability, and you are hypocrites. So again, I will take your refusal
Thanks for demonstrating my opening
Mr.
statement.
Chairman,
reclaiming
order,
my
decorum.
time.
She's off the rails.
Reclaiming my time. I'm not off the rails, please.
You are
Enough
totally
with your
off the rails.
Nancy,
Order.
enough with your tropes. Give me my time back.
Order, Mr. Chairman.
If Republicans were serious about reclaiming
me.
You
Presley,
my constituents.
You have no time left. You're over time.
You're out of time. You're out of time.
There's no time left.
We're done here.
Touch in out of time.
At least 10 seconds.
Out of time.
Time's expired.
Out of order and out of time.
Ms. Presley, you've already secured your MSNBC spot tonight. Your time's required.
I'm looking for
Chair
accountability.
recognizes Ms. Mace.
We're going to be
South Carolina.
MSNBC.
Chair recognizes Ms. Mace.
And this administration.
Thank you, Mr.
Chair
Chairman.
recognizes Ms.
And
Mace.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. She's going to be a great host on MSNBC. This is my
I
time.
wouldn't want to jump
I
in front of
reclaim
Ms.
my
Mace if I
time.
were you, Ms.
Let's pause right here because what you're witnessing isn't chaos. It's exposure. When the noise gets louder, it's usually because someone doesn't want the truth heard. This hearing wasn't about feelings. It was about accountability. And when the facts came out, the theatrics began.
Did you catch that? You'd make a great host on MSNBC. That might be the line of the year. Welcome back, guys. Today we are looking at a clip that is absolutely exploding right now, and for good reason. We have Representative Nancy Mace from South Carolina completely shutting down the noise coming from the other side of the aisle. And when I say noise, I mean literally. You just saw Ayanna Pressley, a key member of the squad, trying to steamroll over a hearing about serious financial fraud. And instead of backing down, Nancy Mace stood her ground like a rock. Look, we know the playbook of the squad by now. When they don't like the facts, they try to make a scene. They interrupt, they grandstand, and they try to make it about feelings rather than the facts. Presley was trying to hijack the hearing because she didn't like where the questions were going. She was trying to run out the clock and create a viral moment for herself. But Mace flipped the script. She didn't let herself get bullied. She reclaimed her time, literally and figuratively, and exposed exactly what was happening. It was a masterclass in how to deal with performative outrage. We're going to watch the full exchange and the hearing that followed, because what Mace uncovers after she shuts down Presley is actually terrifying. We're talking about millions of dollars and potential ties to terrorism. Let's get into it.
No, baby, you're not. You are not in order. You're out of order. Goodbye. You're done. Mr. Chairman, it's my 5 minutes.
Ms. Mace.
Are we good here? Mr. Chairman, thank you. As I listen to the witnesses answer questions today, I'm struck by the truly breathtaking amount of fraud, the scope and scale perpetrated against the American people by Somalians in Minnesota, screeching Democrats, like you just heard, at our witnesses. Democrats on this committee don't want to talk about Minnesota fraud because Minnesota fraud is Democrat fraud. You're going to make a great host on MSNBC. You're going to be great. And this is a cover-up. I mean, the very definition of cover-up. And so while we're still trying to understand the scale of the fraud, it appears that the amount of fraud we are talking about could exceed the size of GDP in Somalia, the size of its economy is what we're talking about. So let that sink in, the amount of fraud we're talking about. My first question is this, Mr. Balyu, this afternoon. Should Somalians in Minnesota be required to speak English, their citizens? Yes or no? Should they be required to speak English if they're American citizens?
I think that question's really inappropriate.
Should they? It's not inappropriate. This is the United States of America. Do you speak English? Should Americans speak English? Citizens speak English? Yes or no?
Point of inquiry, is English the official language of the United States? It's a question I
Mr. Chairman, I'm being interrupted again by another.
That's not a valid parliamentary inquiry.
I would like to reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reclaim my time.
She's
that
asking
seems
the
to be
witness.
a popular theme today.
That's not a valid inquiry.
It's a point of inquiry.
Women have a right to speak in this committee. Conservative women have the right to speak here and not be interrupted by my male colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I would like to reclaim my time. I lost like 10 seconds there.
Okay, we'll give you 10 seconds.
Okay, my next question is, should Somalians who committed fraud be denaturalized and deported, Mr. Balyu?
Again,
Yes
I'm not
or
sure
no?
that's an appropriate question because the majority of Somali
So if you
Minnesotans
commit
are
fraud in
citizens.
this country and you are here from Somalia, you don't believe they should be denaturalized and deported. How
Again,
much
most-
fraud would it take for you to want to denaturalize and deport someone who committed fraud in this country? How much?
Again,
Yes
I'm not
or
sure
no?
that's an appropriate question because the majority of Somali
So
Minnesotans
if you commit
are
fraud in
citizens.
this country and you are here from Somalia, you don't believe they should be denaturalized and deported. How
Again,
much
most-
fraud would it take for you to want to denaturalize and deport someone who committed fraud in this country? How much?
Again,
A
Ms.
billion?
Mace,
9 billion? 19 billion? What would it take for you?
most Somali Minnesotans are citizens.
Right, and the ones that committed fraud, the question was, if you understand English, should be those who committed fraud, should they be denaturalized and deported? The Somalians who are here, the ones that can't speak English.
Yeah, so under U.S. law.
Okay,
the
my next
basis-
question for
Excuse me,
you
Can I please finish
is,
the question?
no, you can't because you're not answering the question. My next question is, this is yes or no. If you marry your brother and you commit immigration fraud, should you be denaturalized and deported? If you
Again,
commit
that-
immigration fraud, yes or no?
Again, that question seems really inappropriate, and if I can get
Well, you
back to your
can't answer
question.
my question, so that's probably more inappropriate. Can you name one significant contribution to Minnesota from a Somali immigrant who can't speak English?
Absolutely, yes, but again, this is.
You didn't name one. All right, so my next questions are going to be for the Honorable Ms. Robbins. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I heard some discussion earlier about al-Shabaab. And the discovery that you believe some of this money that was defrauded the U.S. government went to al-Shabaab. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
Yes, it's been proven.
How much money are we talking about?
You know, we don't have an amount. So there's been specific cases where it's been charged where we have an amount, but then of the millions that go to Somali over the years in remittances, a portion of that we understand is taken as sort of a tax or corruption by al-Shabaab when it enters the country.
Can you explain to us who al-Shabaab is?
It's a terrorist organization in Somalia.
And they're affiliated with al-Qaeda, is that right?
My understanding is they are.
I am on the DNI website where it tells me that since 2014, al-Shabaab has killed more U.S. citizens than any other al-Qaeda affiliate. And as of 2025, al-Shabaab, this group is al-Qaeda's wealthiest component. Can you believe that?
Yes.
And that American tax dollars through Minnesota, through Governor Tim Walz, who shamefully had to resign from his reelection the other day, thank you to the young YouTuber Nick Shirley, this is the kind of thing that was happening in Minnesota. So I praise the Republicans who are here today from the Minnesota State Legislature exposing this fraud. And then, Ms. Robbins, when do you think Tim Walz became aware of the fraud?
I think he's been aware of it since the beginning. This was a huge issue in our state in the year he ran for governor, and the OLA reports came out, first identifying the child care fraud in March and April of 2019 when he was in the first months of his term.
Was Keith Ellison in on it too, knowledgeable, the Catholic turned Muslim guy in Minnesota?
Yes, they were all newly in office, and this was very public knowledge in Minnesota.
What role do you think Tim Walz and Keith Ellison played, his administration, in delaying investigations into the fraud?
So I've outlined several things where they stopped our ability to strengthen internal controls, and they also shut down the criminal investigations by the OIG and DHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. I do have two articles, Mr. Chairman, that I would like to ask unanimous consent. This one on foxnews.com, Minnesota fraud probe will expand to other states. And then on house.gov, legislators blast DHS for revelations it had contracts with feeding our future.
At the end of the day, this isn't left versus right. It's right versus wrong. If you commit fraud against the American people, accountability should follow, no exceptions, no excuses, no distractions. The question isn't whether this conversation is uncomfortable. The question is why it was avoided for so long.
Okay, take a breath. There is so much to unpack there. First off, can we talk about the difference in demeanor? You had Ayanna Pressley screeching, Mace's word, but it fits, and totally losing her cool. She was shouting over the chairman, shouting over Mace, acting like the rules of the House didn't apply to her. It's that typical squad arrogance. I'm morally superior, so I don't have to let you speak. And then you have Nancy Mace, cool, collected, putting on her glasses and getting down to business. Once she got Presley out of the way, telling her, "Goodbye, you're done," she got to the real issue. And this is why the squad was so loud. They were trying to distract from the disaster that is the Minnesota fraud case. Mace started asking the hard questions that regular Americans are thinking. Questions like, if you commit fraud against the United States, should you stay here? It seems like basic common sense, right? If you come to this country and steal millions from the taxpayers, you shouldn't get to keep the benefits of citizenship. But look at how the witness, Mr. Ballou, reacted. He couldn't even give a straight yes or no answer. He kept calling it inappropriate. Since when is accountability inappropriate? Mace wasn't attacking lawful citizens. She was specifically asking about criminals. The fact that they refuse to answer these simple questions tells you everything you need to know. They protect the narrative over the taxpayer every single time. And then, the bombshell. The Al-Shabaab connection. Nancy Mace laid it out clearly. We aren't just talking about people scamming the system for luxury cars or vacations. We are talking about confirmed reports that American tax dollars, money taken from your paycheck, ended up in the hands of a terrorist organization affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Let that sink in. While Ayanna Pressley was worried about decorum and trying to protect feelings, Nancy Mace was exposing a pipeline of fraud that funded terror. She connected the dots right to the leadership in Minnesota, Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison. She got it on the record that they likely knew about this fraud for years and did nothing. In fact, the testimony suggests they actually hindered the investigations. This is why we need people like Mace in these hearings. She cut through the political correctness. She didn't let the squad intimidate her into silence. She asked about the English language requirement, valid point about assimilation and civic duty. She asked about deportation for fraudsters, valid point about the rule of law. The other side wants you to think these questions are mean. Nancy Mace knows these questions are necessary for the survival of our country. So, hats off to Nancy Mace. She exposed the hypocrisy of the left, she shut down the theatrics of Ayanna Pressley, and she fought for the American taxpayer. If that's what off the rails looks like, then we need to get more people on that train. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Was Presley out of line? Is Mace right to demand deportation for fraud? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real talk. See you next time.